Live in 3, 2, 1. The Angry Chicken Hearthstone podcast is produced by amove.tv. Check out amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. For more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit jossplays.com. And to find many more podcasts with Ridiculous Hat, follow @RidiculousHat on Twitter. Every episode of TAC is made possible thanks to our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leper gnome. I knew it. So hot.
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
Greetings and welcome back to yet another TAC, everybody. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, here as always with Jocelyn Carney and ridiculous last name Hat. That's how it rolls around here. Hey, did everyone get their checks for going and playing Mercenaries? Did everyone get their Daddy Blizzard checks? I'm just curious. Mine seems to have gotten lost in the mail. I
think Blizz Daddy forgot me.
I went on the Reddits today, and a lot of people, according to Reddit, are getting paid to talk about Mercenaries. And I just want to say, Big Daddy Blizzard, where's my check?
I get direct deposits.
Oh, what? I can give them all I had to do was give them my routing.
A check in 2021?
Okay, well, just in case they're listening, I'm going to read out my account and routing information live on air. Does that sound good?
That is the best idea you've ever had.
Awesome, great. All right, so it is. No, of course not. Oh, Reddit.
I should clarify for anyone listening with the Reddit account, no, they don't actually give me money. That's the end of the sentence. No, they don't give me money.
What I learned today, and for the last, roughly decade of sometimes occasionally visiting Reddit, it's that it doesn't really matter if you clarify.
Reddit makes its own rules.
I'm just putting it out there. So anyone that was like that's unfair, they now realize it was something that it's the opposite of the truth that I said for comedic effect.
All right, I got you now. I got you. Well, anyways, we've got a massive patch that's going to be hitting this game tomorrow, and that's going to be today's episode. I'm not ending it here, but like the contents of the patch is going to be today's episode. So before we breathe in very deeply and in a single breath finish what will likely be a 2-hour episode a la Ace Ventura, I wanted to make sure that we thank the lovely folks supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. We get it. It's been a weird time. It's been a weird time to be a Hearthstone fan. All right. Weird things are happening at Activision Blizzard. And, maybe Mercenaries ain't tickling your fancy. We get it. And that has been abundantly clear by the receding numbers on our Patreon. So to those of you who are signing up, lovely folks like Nyko this past week, we really appreciate your support. So thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you're out there, if you still like what we're doing, if you still like finding out what's going on in this game called Hearthstone from 3 people that aren't afraid to tell you when we think things don't look all that great. And who definitely are not paid by Big Daddy Blizzard. We're paid by you. Check it out, patreon.com/TAC. You'll get access to our Discord, you get an ad-free version of the feed, and you will directly support us 3 right here. You'll literally help me pay for groceries. So thank you. I appreciate it very much. That's all I got.
I use all the money that I get from the Angry Chicken to buy cheese. It's actually become a real problem with my cholesterol.
That makes sense. It
doesn't matter. He would spend it all on cheese? That makes sense?
No, that he would have cholesterol issues.
Oh.
It's very easy to land in that conclusion. But no, I just really like cheese. When I proposed to my wife, what I did is I had this, I gave her a card that we were going over to her mom's house. It was like the night before. It was Christmas Eve. That's what they call the night before Christmas. There's a name for it. And I was like, hey, I wrote this card for your mom. Can you look it over? And it said, inside it said, I love you more than I love cheese. Will you marry me? And she knew what that meant. Like, that's significant. It's a big deal. And
Wow.
she, of course, she said yes, and now we're married.
That's
Yay!
adorable.
Thank you.
I love you more than I love cheese.
It's a big statement.
Well,
Sounds like.
I love nerfs more than I love cheese. That's a lie, but I was trying to find a segue, and I'm going to just roll with that.
Good news, everyone!
All right, so today, hot off the Hearthstone presses, we've got patch 21.3 notes bringing updates to standard, wild, battlegrounds, and modes other people play. So...
Not wrong.
I think I saw duels called Dead on Arrival duels in the Reddit today. It was the only thing I read on Reddit today that I agreed with.
I played duels today.
You don't count.
I like duels. Hey,
You don't count. Wow.
you invited me to be in your show.
No, I
live here now.
I'm just saying that I'm around some people that play a staggering amount of Hearthstone games, and then I'm around Hat. Like, you are on your own level.
That's true.
Of how much Hearthstone you play.
I had a 12-win run this weekend.
Good God, man. By the way, now that I kind of put you down, I meant to mention last week, but have we talked about the fact that you were like top 100 legend?
I don't think we have.
Yeah,
we can if you want to.
You went on a tear, sir. You went on a tear.
If we're being specific, which I guess we avoided for long enough. I did finish last month in the top 100, and then I am top 100 again right now.
Oh, I didn't realize you made it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 90 right now in NA. Yeah.
Goodness.
It's been a good couple months. Yeah, I don't know. I like Hearthstone. It's a fun game.
Okay. Well,
What you playing?
I'm playing. So most recently, I got there with OTK Brute Demon Hunter.
Oh,
that answers my next question, which is, are you going to continue playing it?
Well, we should talk about why I would consider that, shouldn't we?
We should, which leads us directly into where we're going to be starting today with the nerfs. The nerfs. And wouldn't you know it, right off the bat is Ironbound Brute, which is going up in cost by 1 mana. It used to cost 7 mana, now it's going to cost 8, although it never really cost any mana. Because you're Demon Hunter and you draw all the cards you want.
Yeah.
Although now it might cost 1. Maybe.
Maybe.
I think this always cost either two things, either nothing or unplayable. Those were kind of your options. So it's just going to cost unplayable a little bit more often, because costing 1 when you have no mana doesn't matter. So Ironbound Brute, for those that don't remember, it's a 7 mana 6/7. It costs 1 less for each card you've drawn this turn. It just says on the text, by the way, for each card drawn this turn, but it does not count your opponent's cards. Don't think that it does. It only counts your own cards. So it had a base cost of 7, and they're moving it to a base cost of 8. Now, soul fragments do count, like you draw those, and they count, and then they cast when drawn to replace itself and all that, which was a big innovation in the non-lifesteal builds relatively recently. But the lifesteal builds have gotten a lot more popular, putting Il'gynoth back in and Moarg and Immolation Aura, because the non OTK version lost to Shadow Priest, and this version doesn't. Now, Shadow Priest is also going to get a lot worse. We'll talk about that too. But the dev comment here is Ironbound Brute was playable a bit earlier than intended on average. Pushing it back a turn should soften extreme turns. Now, I am a person that has played many sweet broody boys. I've played many of them. But if you go on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, or in any Hearthstone Discord, when people are playing this deck, they post screenshots quite often. And the thing in the screenshot is it's either turn 3 or turn 4, and there are multiple 6/7s or 7/8s in play with taunt. And then the opponent concedes. It was a fun party trick, but if it turns into a foundational part of the format in a deck that has become much more consistent since it was originally a meme about a month ago, that's not great for the game. Now, the OTK version has picked up in popularity a lot within the past 5-6 days. The balanced adjustment meeting here was on Friday the 10th. So they saw this coming. They didn't know, nobody knew that the OTK hybrid version was going to be so good, but they did see that a bunch of 6-7 taunts on turn 3 should not be a part of your game that happens with any amount of regularity. So they're getting rid of the non-games. This is the gibberling nerf. It does make the card worse. It does make the deck more vulnerable in a very clear way. It makes you have to work a little harder, so it's either less reliable or a little slower. And what they're doing with these patches overall is making standard slower. This is a good change, even though I will miss my sweet broody boy coming down so quickly. But it's probably better for this to be a turn 4 high roll or a turn 5 thing as opposed to a turn 3 high roll or a turn 4 thing.
So do you think this deck is still going to see play, or maybe not just the brutes, but the hybrid thing? Like, brutes aren't going anywhere with this nerf.
I don't know if you're going to like my answer. The answer I'm going to give here is that we have a new format tomorrow, a new standard. There are too many changes to really get an idea of what's going to happen because there are some major pillars of this format that are being shaken up and moved. I do think the format's going to slow down a bit. I do expect this deck to largely keep the same mechanism. It depends how good the aggressive strategies are, because the OTK build was pretty good against the slower strategies, and those seem to be getting even slower. But if you can get under the deck effectively, then that's really bad for the Demon Hunter. But the builds that were coming out that are so much better against aggressive strategies, Shadow Priest is not going to have a Lucia disrupt you anymore, and Face Hunter might not be able to keep up with all the life gain that you're able to put together, so maybe you don't need the brutes as much, but it is a significant, substantial change to the best way the deck fought back against aggression. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to try it. I bet the deck will be part of the meta. I don't know if it will be the best deck in the meta or one of the best decks, but it's going to be a really new environment. And also there are going to be some new predators that we didn't have to deal with before, like pirates with big butts. Or, well, I guess booty.
Big booty pirates. Yeah,
Yes.
big booty pirates.
I'm just going to update the show title now.
Be careful. Yeah, let's just be careful how big we make the booties, because then they might just become fruit. You need to be careful with that. But yeah. Anyway, things are definitely slowing down big time. The only thing I know about tomorrow is I'll most likely just be playing Paladin because they made it out of this unscathed. Though that's after multiple patches of being quite scathed. So, it happens. It happens.
I'm feeling quite scathed right now.
So scathed. Anyway, you mentioned Mindrender Lucia. We should probably mention why we may not be seeing so much Mindrender Lucia. It's because, goodness gracious, this change. So Mindrender Lucia's battle cry is changing to read, replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's until end of turn. You are no longer just swapping hands and decks with your opponent. You're just getting a copy of their hand.
So there's no disruption now of your opponent.
Yeah. This to me, this strikes me like Warsong Commander, while still keeping the soul of the card intact, as opposed to Warsong Commander, where I feel we Shang Tsung'd the soul of that card directly out of it.
This is in the conversation though for the biggest nerf they've done since Warsong. Like
there's been so many jokes and memes and also like serious statements like that, and I think that there's a reason for it.
Lucia as a card has been such a fascinating design as a review of the human psyche as it relates to a card game. Because the way people talk about this card is so interesting. When she cost 2, people lost their minds over it. Either they loved it or hated it. There was absolutely no in between. But then there's been like so many months of people talking about deleting it. And then there were a lot of people on Reddit today that were unhappy that it got nerfed. And I just, I don't know how to get back to my home dimension.
I think it's really... Sorry, go ahead, Joce.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's a really interesting card because I feel like the people that played it really liked it. The people that had it played against them really didn't like it. And it's the kind of thing where it didn't matter which portion of the game that it happened. Like, they didn't like it when it was a late game combo disruption card. They didn't like it when it was an early game, like, aggressive and then totally steal your turn card. It's like, there's no way for this effect to feel good if it's done to you. But at the same time, I feel like the changes make it so that it's just like toothless now, you know? Like, I don't know. I liked that there was a card that exists that disrupted your opponent, but I don't know how to do that like properly. And we had a couple of discussions in our chat with the three of us of what we thought might have been more interesting changes to her. But I mean, this to me feels kind of like easiest, right? Like, biggest complaints are my opponent's doing a thing that makes it so I can't do my thing and I don't like it. Okay, no more opponent messing with. Done.
Have either of you played against Shadow Priest that elucidated you when they had nothing in hand?
Yes.
Yes.
I have also
How
been
is-
said Shadow Priest.
Yes. It's that, as far as I'm concerned, and this is what the dev comment said. That, as far as I'm concerned, is about as far from the original purpose of the card as possible. The original complaints last year were about, like, they took my own cards and beat me with them, and now I can't do my thing.
Yes.
The complaints this time around are not about them taking something; it's about them giving nothing, which is not the same. It's just like a time warp. It just, you skip your opponent's turn by giving them nothing. You often played Elucia with your last 3 mana and just said go, and then they would just die because they would life tap into Shadow Priest cards and concede. And that experience obviously couldn't keep happening. The Elucia that we got, it's a new card. It's a different card. And I think that, like, it's actually might be better for decks that don't exist right now. Because when you were playing Baron's Control Priest, you didn't want to give them your Soul Mirror. If you Draconic Study never took a death when you couldn't give them your hand, you wanted more value, but there was a really serious risk and downside to giving them your hand. So now that downside is gone. It's only about what you can duplicate, and so there might be some value there, but that kind of deck kind of doesn't exist right now, and I don't know if it will come back. But, Quest Priest might keep playing this, and Quest Priest not a total meme. But this is
That's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, just absolutely glowing.
It's not a total meme.
It's like tier 3-ish. You can play it. Kibler's been playing it.
I really think this. I'm absolutely with you on that. This is just interesting. Like, there's so much psychological baggage and, like, player type nitty grittiness you can dig into with this, like, because it says so much about the type of player you are, whether this is the type of the card that excites you or, like, makes you want to uninstall Hearthstone. And so this nerf, like, I think it just says a lot about, like, I don't know. I look at this and I go, the team had to go and have a serious conversation about, like, how much disruption is too much disruption. Like, what do they actually want out of this card? Because they hear a cite that that Lucy was being played too early. And this is the first time ever I've read a dev comment and really truly thought, boy, I feel like a lot is being left out of this. I feel like there's a novella of dev comments for this card change.
Yeah, she could be a blog post in and of herself, I think.
Yeah.
It's, how many developer hours do you think have been spent in meetings arguing about her? Like, a lot, probably more than any other card they've designed. Even
it's a big team, right? Like, you see the dichotomy between Hearthstone players and the community. I bet that exists just as, if not more, strong over on the actual Hearthstone development team.
Yeah. But we had her for a year, and I think that with less than 6 months left on her clock, it's probably time for this effect to take a break after having her in Standard for a year, and I bet it'll feel dramatically different to not have to worry about your own cards being ripped out of your hand in large quantities. Mutinous still exists. You can still get Mutinous. And there might actually be more value to playing Mutinous now because Elucia was just better at that job.
Do you say
it's
Mutinous?
Mutinous, yes.
I've always said Mutanus.
So, okay, I thought it was that, and then we asked Chad, like, on the air, and he said mutinous.
Did
Is that
he?
this show?
I don't remember
Is that one of
that.
my other shows?
It might have been one of your other shows, Hat.
They're all blurring together.
I don't know.
But yeah, I thought it was mutinous as well, but mutinous. Okay.
I don't like
Then-
mutinous. That sounds
Then
like
they should have
I
spelled
need to
it
clear
like
my
that then.
throat.
I'm feeling real mutinous right now.
I think that's kind of the point of the character, isn't it?
I want an I instead of an A is what I want. Anyway, I want to get out of this conversation.
We'll just mute this conversation.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think, and it's a really interesting conversation because chat room's bringing up a couple of other disruption cards like Ticketus, and it's like there are other disruption cards that exist, and they pretty much always feel bad when they're played against you. But for some reason, it's like things that Priest does seem to make people more mad than other classes. And I don't know if it's because of all the other tools that exist within Priest and or like their class identity and stuff that just lends itself to feeling unfair. But yeah, people just seem to really, 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 really hate when Priest does stuff.
Well, and remember though, 3-Mana Lucia was around for a year. This is, just to be super duper clear to the listeners, this is a change because Shadow Priest was using this card for more evil than ever. It was
Yes.
skipping people's turns and killing them. It needed to not be a thing. It was actually the highest mulligan win rate card in Shadow Priest. Over Void Touch Attendant, over Imprisoned Homunculus, over Guardian Og Merchant. It was the best card to keep in your mulligan in Shadow Priest, and that can't possibly be a thing. It is not what was intended for the card. It was not a good play experience. It just completely removed agency, and that's kind of been the root of the issue with Lucia, is that you get kind of some agency when you were playing against it in Baron's Control Priest. If you were like the rogue and you decide, do I use my Wicked Stabs now? Do I hold them and hope they don't have Lucy? But it was just, do I go now or not? That was the only choice you had, and if you didn't go, sometimes they made the choice for you, and that felt awful. But this removes the ability to even play a turn. You don't get any cards in your own deck. You are given nothing to do, and there's lethal staring you down, and there is not a single card that you can draw that will fix it. That can't be in the game. That is Turtle Mage on turn 5. You can't do that. That has to go.
No, I agree. I don't know. I guess I assumed they would find something a little more. This really feels like taking it out back behind the shed, I guess.
Yes, it does. So much so.
And
And
it's not necessarily a
to
complaint
see-
for me. I just, like, I don't really have a dog in this race. I wasn't playing Shadow Priest. I was getting a Luciad. I didn't like getting a Luciad. But the fact that we started this conversation by hearkening back to Warsong Commander,
Warsong, yeah.
there's a reason we didn't hearken back to something more recent. That's how long it's been since a nerf has come down that feels this heavy-handed. And that's not a critique. It's just, to me, it's just a statement of facts, and I'm surprised is all.
Yeah, I wish that they had kept some sort of disruption, even if it was like play her and steal X number of whatever number of cards ended up being balanced. And so like steal 2 cards from your opponent's hand and then, return them at the end of their turn or something like that. Like some sort of disruption where you could maybe pull out combo pieces. If you can play them and disrupt their combo, cool. If you can't, at least you're buying yourself a turn. And you also get some information of, what pieces they may have, but it doesn't take away their entire turn. Like something like that, like almost like Dirty Rat, but instead of pulling a minion out of a board, pulling cards into your hand, like that feels kind of cool and still the same as her, but less powerful. I don't know. I love the Dirty I'm with
Rat
you,
idea.
Garrett. Like this feels like they just don't want anyone to ever play her again.
Yeah, which again, like I don't feel like that's good or bad. It just feels like it was a hard decision they came to.
Yeah.
She's going to get reverted when she rotates to Wild. She will be useful in Wild, and that format is not exactly wanting for power outlier, so she won't really stand out quite the same way. And
Someone's timestamped this. Someone timestamped this for when, I don't know, a year from now, everyone is setting the Wild Reddit on fire for a Lucia.
yeah,
Done.
feel free.
I don't actually
point-
need it. Just timestamp it, Jocelyn.
I
Will
did
game-
it. It's happened. It's already
In
happened.
6 months in Wild, will games even go to turn 3? Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, they're banning Demon Seed, so, you never know.
I guess so.
Ugh, spoilers.
People will forget by the time we get through Shaman. It's fine. It's fine. So, yeah. Alicia, probably not going to see much of her in Standard anymore. So, some of you listening are happy. Some of you are sad. And some of you are like, I came for the Battlegrounds talk. What are you talking about? Perpetual Flame. Shaman's getting 2 nerfs, by the way. Perpetual Flame is one of them. It's going to cost 2 mana now. It's up from 1 to 2. If you don't remember, this is a Shaman spell that reads deal 3 damage to a random enemy minion. If it dies, recast this overload 1. Devs basically said this is too efficient. Quote, very efficient. And so they're just making it go up 1 more mana in their hopes to give board-based decks a better shot against Shaman in the early and mid-game. And can you hear that? Is this ASMR? Can you hear me rubbing my hands together thinking about playing Paladin again?
Paladin was kind of good against this already.
Yeah, but
It had butts and bubbles. That's all that matters.
It did, but sometimes they've just had the perfect amount of stuff to deal with the bubbles, and then Perpetual Flame came out, and I was just like, no, I had Spellburst put Divine Shield back, but it doesn't work if they're dead.
See, the thing about this card going to 2 is that now people will decide, do I run this or Landslide? And Landslide is much worse for you. Because now
Hadn't
people
thought
have
about
cost
that.
2, and Landslide is a nature spell, and it doesn't overload, so in Quest Shaman it's going to be different. But they're now, like, competitors, like realistic competitors, as opposed to Perpetual Flame being, like, clearly superior and also coming off Wandmaker, which will stop happening. But if you look at the 2 mana Perpetual Flame, and you played Quest Shaman, raise your hand if you're going to cut this card from your deck. None of us are raising our hands, audio listeners. That's the joke.
Nope. Yep. Yeah, this doesn't really. Thank you for the audio, helping the audio listeners out. That would have been hard to understand otherwise. And then Command the Elements is getting nipped. Specifically, Tame the Flames, which is the 3rd portion of the quest line. It's going from play 2 cards with Overload to play 3 cards with Overload. So you're going to need to play 1 more Overload card before you get your Stormcaller Brucon. And devs said that they want to open up more room for counterplay, particularly from slower strategies. Hey, what did we say at the top of this discussion? That is going to slow down.
Life is to be savored.
I don't think there is a voice line in World of Warcraft that makes me angrier, by the way, than that. Ugh.
Is that from the Turtles minigame?
No, that was while leveling in Mists of
Pandaria.
Pandaria. The Pandarians all had like a chance to say that, and I distinctly remember trying to like just face roll to max level, and every time I would hear "slow down," I'd be like,
Slow down.
"You're not my real dad." I got very angry.
Garrett.
It's right up there with Syndragosa's Pathetic Magic Betrays You. Like those two, I'm going to be on my deathbed thinking about those things haunting my dreams. Anyways, Tame the Flames.
I started playing much more recently, and so the thing that always bugged me is when you would fly into a contested zone in BFA. And I'm gonna roll back for dramatic effect. You would fly into a contested zone, and then Sylvanas would be like, "Greymane's forces hold this Warden Tower." You can hear it in your head. Break their ranks, show no mercy. You hear it right now.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, good
And
stuff.
I just like I have my headphones on, but like Sylvanas, can you chill?
I'm trying to
Turns
listen.
out, by the way,
Sylvanas
the answer
has
is
zero
no.
chill.
I'm
She
trying to
cannot.
catch up on Dark Diaries, and you're making it very difficult. Jeez. Also, I'm trying to get my Stormcaller Brucon, and 1 more Overload card is making it very difficult.
I think that this is fine. This one was one of those quests that felt like it got done a little bit too quickly. So I think adding just the 1 more Overload in the 3rd portion of it, this is fine.
That's kind of where my head's at too.
It's if you want things to happen past turn 8, then make turn 8 happen more. and then we'll get there. It's
Yeah.
this is a lightning bloom nerf. Good. There were a lot of times when I would complete the quest and the last card in my hand would be guidance, and then I would have infinite cards, and now I have to play the guidance first, and I have less than infinite.
Which is good.
Yeah, well, I mean, not for the Shaman player as much, but more for format diversity.
Well, yes,
It's,
exactly. When I say things are good, I'm thinking of for standard as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I definitely feared the Quest Shaman. But like I like a faster meta, so I'm not necessarily the target demo for this, but like it was quick. It was really
I like fast, but I don't like immediate.
well, that was before the first round of nerfs. I feel that was the immediate meta. This is the fast meta. Are we heading to the furious meta? Please say yes.
We are now.
We're gonna drive out of an airplane.
I mean, I was thinking more maybe talk about family, but that's okay. We'll take that as well. We'll take that as well. All right, Demon Seed. It is time to talk about Demon Seed because we have not talked about Demon Seed enough already, and Lord knows it has barely been mentioned by the community.
Say Demon Seed 3 more times. Say it more.
Demon Seed Part 1 of the quest line. Are you happy there? It's going from take 6 damage on your turn to get your lifesteal reward, deal 3 damage to take 8 damage on your turns. So it's 6 damage on your turns to 8 damage on your turns for the first leg of the Demon Seed quest line. That's going to slow it down.
Yeah.
Yes. By my math, it's going to slow it down by about 2.
Damage.
Look at you getting all technical.
By damage, your turns may vary.
For Mercenaries. Yeah.
Turns may vary depending on what you cast. And also, part 2 of the quest line, Establish the Link, is going from take 7 damage on your turns to take 8 damage on your turns. And if you are a wild player listening to the sound of my voice, the Demon Seed is now banned in Wild. Well, as of tomorrow, it will be banned in Wild.
I'm glad they're starting to do this.
When will then be now? Soon.
September 21st. And if I had to hazard a guess, 1 p.m. Eastern?
Ish.
Unless
you're on mobile, in which case 4
hours after that.
Unless you're on mobile, make some draft tweets now. Just if you're a mobile player.
Yes. You were saying, Justin.
I was saying, what was I saying?
That you're glad they're doing this.
Oh, yes. I'm glad that they're open to banning cards because, again, this is one of the things that, and obviously this is not the first time that they have done this, to ban a card in a format, but I'm glad that they're doing it because it's one of the things they said that they would really want to not do. And so to see them kind of taking wild players' experience into consideration, I think is a good thing. And they did say that when it rotates to wild, they're going to unban it and basically change it to make it so that it works according to what you can do in wild, because there's so many more ways to damage yourself without that much of a downside necessarily. So I think that they made the right choice for now. I'm glad that they're not changing it like in standard versus what, like trying to balance the 2 formats when, in this case, it feels a little bit impossible to get there. Like it feels like if they balanced it for wild at this point in time, then it would pretty much be unplayable in standard, and vice versa. Obviously, when it's balanced for standard, then it's kind of unplayable in wild. So I think that they've made the right choice here, and I'm glad that they're still doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, the way that they would have to nerf it in wild is by doing the thing they said they don't do, which is to eviscerate a bunch of the support cards, which are all like ancient. Like, I don't know what set Crystallizer is from because it was barely played when it came out, but the card is local bananas in wild Demon Seed decks, right? It just finishes a phase of the quest basically by itself at the time, then you raise it back.
And Crystallizer, just for people who might not remember, that was the deal 5-tier hero, gain 5 armor.
Yes, it is a
So
1
net
mana,
0.
1/3 neutral. Yeah.
Yeah, so net 0 health change, but because you deal 5 damage to your hero, then you're, like you say, pretty much doing a stage of the quest just with one mana card.
Yeah. I think that came up last week for a hot second, if I remember correctly.
It's Galen apparently told Ixar, well, in the balance meetings, that this was a high-profile target for the wild nerf discussion, which means they definitely considered you can hit Crystallizer, you could nerf Kobold Librarian or something, maybe you hit the Giants, but at that point, you're talking about changing multiple-year-old, like, all these cards have been around for 4 or 5 years, and the point of Wild is to not change cards because
Right.
of that. So this is the only change to the new card that makes sense, that, like you said, leaves it, well, I'm holding up air quotes, viable in Standard, even though they also were not exactly kind to it in Standard.
Crystallizer is from the Boomsday Project. The Boomsday Project.
If anyone forgot. Yeah. So, do we have anything definitive to say about anything besides Elucia? Because again, there's going to be so much upheaval tomorrow. Like, if this was the only change, I'd be like, yep, that's it. Wipe my hands off, Warlock's done. But so much of this meta is just getting pushed a turn or 2 or 3 later that, barring an overperforming Paladin win rate, I don't know what is, I think this is going to be successful in slowing things down.
The format's getting slower. We know that for sure. The question is, what is the composition of the format going to look like? And that is a question that nobody has an answer to. And a lot of the things getting nerfed here, Mage is going to get a lot worse because all the things it likes to beat are getting worse, right? Like that's a really, really big part of what you want to look at here, of what decks were trying to beat Shaman and Warlock, and what decks couldn't beat Elucia. You have to look at the context there. There were a lot of decks that people were playing, like Poison Rogue and Quest Mage and whatever, that were really hard targeting Warlock. They're going to have way fewer targets. And Warlock has a couple different things going on. There's the Handlock deck, which didn't really care about Big Tammy anywhere near as much. It cared about getting Flesh Giants cheaper by doing a bunch of self-damage. You can still do that, but it's much slower now. This is, to that deck, this is another Flesh Giant nerf. This is adding probably about 1 to 2 mana to Flesh Giant again, slowing it down in a really major way, or maybe just making you feel the first 2 nerfs however you want to look at it. You can play like Flame Imp now if you want to go faster, but that's pretty risky and it's not great in the strategy that you're going for. You could cut the quest in Handlock, but then your Flesh Giants are kind of hard to do. You could go for what they're doing in Wild and Evenlock. You could add in like Encumbered Pack Mule and go for Dark Alley packs and a Netheron. But that's just a different deck at that point. The Fatigue-based Demon Seed deck, which didn't run Giants at all, but was meant on turboing through your deck, get Big Tammy and play as quickly as possible, then kill your opponent with
damage.
Right, with Hand of Gul'dan. You would go Little Tammy and Hand of Gul'dan and draw 6, and then kill your opponent with Fatigue. That deck's going to be way harder to get off the ground, but the survival tools didn't get touched. So if your job is just stay alive longer, you can stay alive exactly as well as you did before. You just are a couple turns slower, and that means maybe the Mutinous comes online. I don't know.
The question is, like, is that enough survival tools to continue lasting the extra turns?
Yeah, because so overall, it's only an addition of 3 more damage that you take, right? Which you could also look at as kind of negating the second heal that you got, or, however you want to look at it. You have to take 3 more damage now. Like, is that ever going to be meaningful? I mean, I know a lot of times I'd be playing Quest and then I'd be like, oh man, I'm down to like 1 or 2 health, but then ta-da! Now I'm not anymore. Yeah. You were really riding that line. So does that mean that you just can't do this anymore, or?
Well, you're taking 3 more, but also it takes you longer to get the 3 back, right? So you're changing from a coupon to a mail-in rebate, and mail-in rebates suck. So, like, it's... You're taking the extra damage up front, and then you get it back so much later that there's going to be a larger window where if you don't draw Soul Rend, you're just going to die. And
Mhm.
so maybe there are cards like School Spirits that you think about playing, but then you have Soul Fragments in your deck that you want to get to 10 cards or less as quickly as possible. It's a really different ball game here. This is a really, really major break point because before it was tap on 2, tap Tour Guide on 3, tap on 4, done. And now you're taking an extra turn to get there, and you're probably taking an extra turn in the second one too because you can't hit that second breakpoint of 8 all that easily. It was tap, tap, and then either raise it or backfire. Now there's just one extra life just floating there. So you're relying on your self-damage cards to do a lot of work, and you're relying on Soul Rend even more than you were before, or you have to change the composition of the deck. It's this nerf to Demon Seed is significant enough that people are asking if Warlock remains viable, and I think that's a great question. I expect the decks will look different, but because the context of the format is going to look so different as well, then Warlock will probably survive in some fashion. But if you take the deck from today and bring it in a ladder tomorrow, you'll probably notice the difference in a way that will make you not want to play the deck anymore. I don't think what worked today will work tomorrow.
That's fair. And that's also, we haven't even talked yet about the Mithril Rod change either, because that's going up in cost by 1 as well. So.
Yeah, Rune Mithril Rod's going to cost you 4 mana instead of 3 now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
This card was disgusting. Oh, it was so insane when you would go coin Rod into backfire. Like, the game just kind of felt over at that point.
Mm. Yeah, I was watching a lot of GM this weekend. Yay, Language Hacker won a week. I'm so excited. But yeah, so I was watching a lot of GM this week and seeing this really go off with people who know what they're doing. I was just like, this is gross. Like super ew. I don't like it.
Yeah.
This was I loved playing it and I hated playing against it card for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very good because it was very good, and I think it'll still be good. Just we'll remove the very. It's gonna come on a little later, which again is the story of
fair.
these nerfs. Yes, yes, that's a good way to put it.
It's pretty awkward now. Like 4 is not when you want to be casting this, and that's the same spot as your Soul Rend and the same spot as a lot of other stuff that you had to do. I'm curious to see how much more play that Rod sees. You might still have to play it in the Fatigue deck, but it feels a lot worse.
Yeah, I was thinking the Fatigue variant as well. It seems to be where it has the most chance of, I think, sticking around. But you, Hat, pointed out something very interesting on social media today before we get to overall buffs, because it was in regards to the dev comments on the buffs that we're going to discuss, because they ended by talking about being in anticipation of the mini set coming in the next major patch after the patch launching Mercenaries. You pointed out on social media that that's later than we're used to getting our mini sets.
Yeah. It's really significant change because you will remember Scholomance last year was weird for different reasons. It was only 3.5 months because we got the expansion in November. And I think it is fairly safe to say that is all kinds of not happening this year. Usually the mini set is exactly 2 months after the launch of the set. We were expecting the first week of October. And instead, it sounds like they're switching up the timing and they're prioritizing Mercenaries release in October 12th. And then the next major patch after that will be probably, well, they just did 0.3. This is the 0.3 patch that's coming up. They haven't done odd numbers for public facing patches ever that I can remember. So they're changing the cadence for sure. I wouldn't be surprised because Wailing Caverns leaves the store on Tuesday, October 19th. If maybe the mini set comes just the week after, which would be unusual but possible. Or maybe it's just late October. It's only 2 weeks late, but it's still going to be a few weeks later than what we were expecting, which was we thought that the pre-patch was going to be mini set on the 7th, on the 5th or the 7th. We would get the mini set then, and then also that would set us up for Mercs, and that's not what's happening.
Which is kind of unfortunate. I get it. And I know that they've been making a lot of changes to standard, obviously with the nerfs and the buffs that we're going to talk about in a minute. But like, I don't know. It makes me even more like towards mercenaries to know that it's like disrupting the changes and the additions to standard, which obviously is my preferred mode of play, right? So I'm just kind of like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, damn it. Like it from all reports, mercenaries like is its own thing and may or may not appeal to the existing Hearthstone crowd, but like it's its own like standalone game thing built within Hearthstone. So launch them at the same time. Like I don't know. It's mercenaries.
They probably would if they could. They probably would if they could. And keep in mind, they didn't say anything about mercenaries. That's what I said. They didn't say that. But also, I would guess the limiting factor here is how many engineers they have. I don't think that they have the bodies to prioritize both of these things at the same time, and they want to get mercs out the door.
There's
That's
one
my
thing
guess.
I've learned.
That's my theory.
There's one thing I've learned from XCOM. It's that engineers are very, very important, and I never have it up
That's true.
Yeah, and I know limited resources are a thing. I just
and I'd like to double down by saying I am aware that Blizz didn't say mercenaries, but I'm definitely saying mercenaries. I think mercenaries absolutely is having an impact here, and I would float that I think it would be a bad idea to have mercenaries and a mini set come out at the same time from a marketing standpoint. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I get it from a marketing standpoint, but like at the same time, I just don't care.
Yeah, like, you don't care yet.
If I'm being like perfectly frank, I want the mini set. I want to play new cool stuff in standard, and nerfs and buffs are great, and I think they are going to create a new meta, and all of that is fine. But yeah, I want my mini set. I want my stuff. I want my cards. Like, take your mobile game and go away. That was a go away hand gesture.
Yeah, it was very G-rated audio listeners. It was very
my mobile game.
Yeah, it was very G-rated mobile listeners. It was nothing else. I promise.
Yeah,
I'm being legit too. Yeah, Joce, I just want you to remember this next time. I'm like, I just don't really care about Grandmasters. I just want you to remember this moment. It's fine. It's
fine. I get it. Everyone likes their own stuff. I really like standard, and a delay to the mini set makes me sad.
I too find it difficult to not read into it the way you are. Let's talk buffs. Hunter is getting 2 buffs in tomorrow's patch. Leatherworking Kit, which if you don't remember because you probably weren't playing it, is the 2-mana 0/3 Hunter weapon that reads, after 3 friendly beasts die, draw a beast and give it +1/+1, lose 1 durability. Now it's going to be the 1-mana weapon that does everything I just said.
Yes. Also, it doesn't work with Pack Mule the way you want it to. Don't play this in a Pack Mule deck.
Unfortunately. Yes. The other thing that's getting buffed is Selective Breeder, which if you don't remember was the 2-mana 1/1 rare hunter minion with the Battlecry. Discover a copy of a beast in your deck. It is gaining 2 life, so it's going from a 1/1 up to a 1/3. No other changes to this card other than the fact that it actually has enough health to do anything at all, including surviving pings and daggers.
Mm-hmm.
It's now the same stats as a Caravan.
All aboard the Caravan? I was trying to make a bandwagon joke there, and that was terrible. Let's just move on and pretend I didn't try to do that.
Okay.
Do we think Hunter is getting a big boost from either of these buffs?
Well, I mean, right now this is like boar shenanigans is where you see these cards. I tried it a lot. I lost a lot. So, I mean, depending on the what you consider viability, like they go in a super fun meme deck, like they'll still go in the super fun meme deck. They'll be better. But I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind I think the Hunter buff specifically is with an eye on the mini set when it comes, right? Like this isn't necessarily going to make a new Hunter deck viable tomorrow, but they're likely to make a new Hunter deck viable in November. So just kind of keep an eye on the mini set, keep these cards in mind. But I think the ones that are going to have a bigger impact on the meta immediately are going to be the next 5 we're talking about in Mage and Warrior. I think Hunter's still kind of meh, but hopefully we'll get something cool in a month and a half.
Yeah.
There's enough here to try. But you asked, is Hunter excited? And it's like, no.
Not
No,
really.
it's not. It's Hunter, it goes face, or
Yeah.
it dreams of an era where it doesn't have to go face. And we call that era Kobolds and Catacombs. And it has since left us. But, this looks like it'll be fun until you get beaten by someone that's actually trying to kill you.
These are things I like doing as a hunter. They are not things that I typically win doing as a hunter.
Exactly.
Yep. Would love to be wrong. Hope I'm wrong.
Same. You mentioned Mage probably going to have a hard time winning because their targets are getting worse, but they're getting 2 buffs as well. Wildfire, which was the 2-mana fire spell that increases the damage of your hero power by 1. Now it's going to be a 1-mana spell that does all of that. And Mordresh Fire Eye, one of my favorite pieces of art ever in the history of Hearthstone, is going from a 10-mana 10/10 down to an 8-mana 8/8. If you don't remember what Mordresh does, this is the battle cry where if you've dealt 10 damage with your hero power this game, you deal 10 damage to all enemies. This is not randomly split. All enemies. I love this effect. I love this card. I wanted it to be better, and now it is.
It is better. And so this kind of fits into the greater Mage conversation where, Hat, earlier you were saying that what Mage, like Quest Mage specifically, was trying to beat Warlock. I almost said Warrior. No one was trying to beat Warrior. They were just not even around. So Quest Mage trying to beat Warlock. And so if Warlock is not around quite as much, then maybe Quest Mage won't be around quite as much. Maybe the Mage space opens up a little bit and we get to play with cool hero power things. Because I feel like we've gotten like a sprinkling of hero power tools lately, and I want that to be a good, cool, viable deck. But, Ping Mage just hasn't really ever taken over as like the mage to play. So I don't know. Mordresh to me now seems like super good. There's something about a drop from like 10 mana. I look at any 10 mana card and go, yeah, probably never. But then I look at an 8 and I go, oh, I could do an 8.
Yeah. In this case, you know what they say, less is Mordresh. And
Oh, you're going to get a fire stink eye for me on that one.
Really? I'm going to go change the name of the show.
I had to do it.
That is phenomenal. This is absolutely phenomenal.
I don't know if this will be good enough to be a deck, but I know that it will be fun looking enough to get a bunch of people to try it. And that's good enough. I figured that they were going to buff either Frost or Fire, and this is kind of on the Fire side, but not quite the same. It's cool, and this is a deck that people wanted to be good the second that they printed these cards, right? And I will shout out Andrew over at HS Replay. He named the deck with the watch post in this Hero Tower Mage, and maybe we can go back there to Hero Tower. It's and I don't know, makes Wand Maker better, and like it's just a thing that people want to do. People love futzing with their hero powers and making them better. Like that's just a thing that people have enjoyed doing for a long time, to the point where they have to take away the toys that let us do that sometimes because it's people like it too much.
It leads to a little too much consistency in a card game.
Right.
But I don't think this is going to be consistent.
It super duper leans into the class fantasy, I think. So I think there's some people who play Hearthstone or any card game to play whatever the best new hotness deck is, right? And then there's some people that play Hearthstone or card games who very much want their class fantasy. Like, I am a hunter, I am a mage, I am a warrior, or a red or a blue or a green or whatever. Like, they have their thing they like to do. And in Hearthstone with the hero powers, that is your class fantasy in a button, right? So the more stuff that they print that has to do with that class fantasy, the more people are going to get excited about it if they are specific like class players. So I think that that's where that feeling of excitement comes from. But you're right, Garrett. It's way too consistent because it's always there, right? So they have to be really careful with that design. But I think that's why people are super stoked about it.
And hero powers are also, they're just so unique to Hearthstone. Like it's part of what really makes Hearthstone feel like Hearthstone, especially when compared to something like Magic. So of course you would like, wow, I can make them better. I could augment them. It feels like you're cheating. It's like, oh, I'm getting so much value out of things that aren't even cards, but you still have to play cards to get there, and it's all built in. Anyways, I get it. I'm very easy to get or quick to get excited about hero power augmentations. So bring it on. Absolutely bring it on. Maybe gather round the fireside. Might be something there. Imagine if we'd had get-togethers for Hearthstone. Fireside would be a really good name for that. Yeah,
it would be.
God, that feels like another lifetime.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Warrior got 3 buffs. Stormwind Freebooters going from a 3/3 to a 3/4. Stonemaul Anchorman is going from a 4/5 to a 4/6, and Bloodsail Deckhand is going from a 2/1 to a 2/2.
Bloodsail Deckhand is a ridiculous Hearthstone card. It is completely absurd. It is a 1-mana 2/2 with upside.
Yeah. If you don't remember what the hell this card does, it's a pirate with a battle cry that reads, the next weapon you play costs 1 less. So Hat is right on the money.
So it even has a minion type, right? Because we've seen 1-mana 2/2s before where the upside was the minion type. This is now a 1-mana 2/2 with a minion type and a battle cry effect that's good.
It's just good. It's not the next weapon you play this turn. It's just the next weapon you play.
Yeah. Wild players know this already. Because this gets you a 2-mana Ankar pretty reliably. And so for Standard, I think it's pretty clear what they want us to do. Play pirates in your warrior deck.
Yes.
In Wild, people were already doing that, and the best deck just got literally banned. I expect the conversation in Wild in the near future, especially at the starting, tomorrow afternoon, to talk about how Pirate Warrior is unbeatable and overpowered. Now, and I'm not saying that's not justified, but I'm saying I expect that to be the initial reaction, and I expect there to be some takes out there that are maybe a little questionable. I just advise people to feel it out, see what happens, try some other stuff. But Pirate Warrior is going to be very good in Wild starting tomorrow. I hope it's good enough in Standard. I hope it's not too good, but I don't think it will be. I hope it's good enough. These are meaningful changes, but it's probably not enough to turn a non-deck into a deck without the nerfs. Like if they just did these buffs and didn't change any cards, didn't do any nerfs, I don't think the Quest Warrior starts seeing play. But that's not what they did. They rearranged the format, and I think the new pushed Warrior cards with all the pullback other cards will probably be enough to be something that people try and have success with tomorrow.
Well, I think the only question left is, are you ready?
This is a segue.
You were supposed to say, for what? And then I was going to say, for this jelly, because my pirate too bootylicious for you, babe.
Yeah, that was lost on me.
I
assumed that it was going to be
on you. Did you not know? You do not know Bootylicious?
No, I know Bootylicious.
I didn't know
that's where Garrett was going. I was waiting.
I'm very personally offended.
Okay. First of all, I think we all know that I know Bootylicious. Okay. Second of all, I thought that you were going to go for I Can't Hear You, Are You Ready, Kids, Who Lives in a Pineapple Under the Sea, which is also very nautical. I thought we were SpongeBobbing.
Oh.
We were not.
I mean, yeah. But I can't make that work. Who lives in a warrior deck under the sea? Big booty pirates? No, it did the syllables are all off. It's bad.
The guy singing that song is a pirate.
Oh. That's all you get.
That's gonna be stuck in my head now.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Wait, hold on. Can you sing Bootylicious doing that accent?
Oh my god.
Let's see. My body too bootylicious for you, babe. There you go. That one's free. Patreon.com/JAC for more.
Clipping.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on the Patreon feed. You just gave that to everybody.
My gift to you. Why do I not have a TikTok account? All right. before we leave and talk about Battlegrounds things, there is one last thing that has nothing to do with the patch tomorrow, but does have everything to do with Mercenaries, the mode we haven't really talked too much about today. But if you are interested, all Mercenaries that are going to be available at launch are now browsable on the official Hearthstone website. I don't have much to say beyond that fact. I just want to let listeners know you can go to the Hearthstone website now and see all of the Mercenaries. My frame of reference for this is still basically nothing. So looking at all of these images of the Mercenaries just makes me go, those are characters, and some of them I recognize.
They have numbers on them.
Some content creators have gotten an early look at Mercenaries. Crossing my fingers and not hinting at anything at all. That I too get to try it. Please and thank you.
It's not. You just said it. You can't hint at it if you just say what you want. It's not a hint.
I'm not hinting at anything. I'm asking.
Okay. Well,
I want to be very clear.
To give the very very brief recap of what happened in Mercenaries today, people. They tweet a lot of stuff. They updated the FAQ. A bunch of people made a bunch of videos. Go watch Lissa's video. She's really great. She has adorable puppies. And there's something about Millhouse's pony at the end.
Yeah, there's actual gameplay from people who are known for playing this game, playing Mercenaries, which was what I kind of wanted from the Mercenaries reveal stream. So now there's 3 of those available, I believe, from 3 separate content creators. You can choose your fighter.
Also, Tiago from HS Replay had a really great 12-tweet thread about it. So if Twitter is your preferred form of content, well, then we must talk more on twitter.com. But also, yeah, definitely check out Tiago T. Toparelli over on Twitter. He had a really nice thread on what his experience was with that. And yeah, Slissa, Crip, and Trumpetty, I think, are the 3 videos that are out there today. And more are apparently coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So anyways, let's thank today's sponsor, our stuff that we want to promote. And I'm going to throw to you first, Joce. What would you like to promote today?
Okay, so it is that time of year again, guys. It is the fall, and this is about the time when the Gamers Inn starts up our charity fundraising. So we are part of Extra Life. We're doing it again this year. It is my 10th year. And so I have a goal of just under $2,000 because I would very much like to reach $15,000 raised for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. So if you can help us out, I'll put the link in the show notes, but you can go to bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2021 if you'd like to support me or anyone else on the team.
Sick. I want to promote my new podcast, Nexus Gaming News, where Kyle Ferguson and myself uploaded 2 new episodes last week covering gaming news. And if you want to hear about things like, I don't know, the fact that there was a federal complaint levied at Activision Blizzard, we covered that, as well as sexy WoW art turning into fruit. That was covered on Nexus Gaming News as well. So you can find Nexus Gaming News wherever it is you get your podcasts. It is literally everywhere, even Stitcher, even though I openly disdain that platform.
What?
It's on there.
I don't know if disdain is a strong enough word.
I think you're hurting podcasts by using Stitcher. That's my... But it's there if you'd like to get it. I would recommend Pocket Casts or Apple Podcasts. And if you're getting on Apple Podcasts, drop it a 5-star review. Tell us you liked it. Tell us you liked it. But yeah,
while you're there.
That's Nexus Gaming News, available everywhere podcasts can be found, and over at youtube.tv, no, youtube.com/amovetv for the video version. There's actually a lot of visual aids this time around. Hat, what about yourself?
I like both of the things that YouTube plugged. I was driving home from a wedding this weekend, and I ran out of Hearthstone podcast, and so my wife is a big Pokemon Unite gamer, so I found a Pokemon Unite podcast called Ayo's Clubhouse. It's also hosted by one Kyle Ferguson, and they talked about Pokemon Unite.
Are you promoting someone else's podcast?
Yeah.
Aren't you likable enough?
I think that depends who you ask.
That's fair.
There have been some comments in some podcasts I've done recently that have questions about the height of my testicles and whether or not they dropped yet. That's come up on Reddit.
What?
Someone asked.
Reddit.
Yeah, it's okay. It was funny. I said that my balls have not dropped. That's why I can talk so fast. That was my response.
I mean, usually that's more about an octave than a speed thing, but you know what? Whatever. F those people, and let's talk about
It's okay.
Battlegrounds.
Have a good battle, friend.
Standard and Wild are not the only game mode getting a butt ton of updates tomorrow. Battlegrounds is finally seeing some things that have been making me very, 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 very angry for a very long time get beaten to submission tomorrow. And can you tell? Can you tell I'm excited? Can you tell that I can't wait for things like Shutterwalk and Froggy Boys to die in a fire?
Do you think that they have, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Segment over, everyone. We're done here.
We're done.
That's all, folks. Yeah. No, if you're curious what's actually going on, start with the heroes updates. Shutterwalk, with one of the best names of a hero power in the entire game, Snicker Snack, is going from a 0 gold cost to a 2 gold cost. So it's going to cost you 4 gold in total for your 2 Shutterlings to get far too many goldens far too early into the game.
This feels pretty good to me, just because if they are still going to try to go that route, it's going to really impact their economy and probably mean that they can't level up quite as much and also get all the token minions and stuff that they need. And it's going to be harder to put all those pieces together. And yeah, so I think it's going to happen later, and then so therefore probably more fair. And yeah, we might see no one playing Shutterwalk, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, this is basically forcing into like full-on greed scenario where you need to wait until you have a silly number of token spawns for it to be worth the gold.
Yeah.
And also late enough in the game that you're actually gonna discover some high power minions as well. Because previously, honestly, I've had plenty of Shutterwalk games that went really, really well, where I only had where I bought like a single token, and I just power leveled to 5, made 1 gold in, found an OK 6, but I was already there, and that OK 6 stabilized me, and that got me there. But now you're kind of hoping to like rob the bank of golden tier 6s at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like I kept running into Shutterwalks that would be like having somewhere between like 3 and sometimes as many as like 5 6 drops on turn like 6, and I was like, the hell are you doing? How is this a thing?
Yeah, that's kind of the perfect storm.
Which is like this
of
super, yeah, it definitely is the high roll, and you can brick on Shutterwalk for sure. But
oh yeah,
it just, when it happened, it felt so bad.
Yeah, it did. But now that will not happen anymore. Just period.
Yay.
They still may be able to find a lot of 6s, but it's going to happen at a much more reasonable point in the game. I am just going to be avoiding Shutterwalk because I don't think Shutterwalk's going to be very good after this change.
Yep.
It feels like it was meant to be this like menagerie dream where you had a bunch of menagerie battle cries and you had every minion, but then menagerie is kind of unplayable. So it just ended up being cheat or skip. And so they fixed the cheating part, and so people are probably
Now we skip.
Now we skip. Yep. Galewing, the Eastern Plaguelands option of Galewing's hero power. It used to be in 5 turns, upgrade your tavern tier. Now it is in 5 turns, your next tavern tier upgrade costs 5 less. Whew, that's a nuke from Orbit too.
Right. That's a huge, huge, huge change, right? Like I looked at this and I was like, damn, someone just did not like that bird.
I didn't when I wasn't the bird.
Yeah. So I actually haven't played a ton of Galewing. Did the upgrade fire before, if you like generate any triples during combat or anything, like did the upgrade fire to the tavern tier before you got your golden? Or I guess you got the golden in hand, then you would play it.
Right.
So I guess it's limiting the ability for like Doomsayer, which also got changed quite a bit. To like feed you triples and then you just get a free 6 out of nowhere.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you could still upgrade before you play the golden, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's no longer just a free upgrade. So
Well, yeah, because you basically like you were
You would time it.
getting. Sorry.
You would time it, so because the tavern tier upgrade gets cheaper every turn after you've upgraded, and so you would just like a lot of the strategy is focused around going to tier 4 the turn before this hit. But
Yeah, so then I was gonna say, yeah, you're getting like 10 golds worth basically because you're getting that free upgrade to 5.
Seems powerful. I'm glad they changed it.
It was very, very powerful for sure.
yeah, it was quite good, and Gale Wing's interesting because there's different strategies for Gale Wing. I almost never did the the Eastern Plaguelands on turn 1, like almost never, but I usually did it on like turn 2.
I think I did a 3 then a 5. I think.
I would do a lot of
3 gave you the minion and 5 upgraded the tavern tier. Yeah. So I did like 3, 5, and then like 3 through 3 for the rest of the game.
Yeah, there was
the 3-5-3 strategy.
Yeah.
Still Murnock gets me.
Yeah. But I would only do the 3-5-3 if there were tokens, because then on turn 3 you could sell token and level again after leveling on turn 2, and that would tee you up for that beautiful spike of tavern tiering. Whereas if I didn't get a token minion, I would go the +2 attack opener, and then turn 2 I would just choose the 5-turn hero power. But that none of that matters anymore.
None of it matters. Yeah, none of it matters.
Yeah.
If I can be honest, I never wanted to do the math, so I would exclusively just pick the 3 option every single time it was offered to me, and I would just press the button and get the minion, and then keep doing that until I said the game's going to be over next turn. Then it would do the left one.
You can watch.
And so this change feels great.
Yeah, I just watched Slissa, and it's been 3-2-1 and learned things. So yeah. Master.
Learning, you say?
Yeah. Did I never figured out how the proper way of pronouncing Ewan. Win. Master Win.
Yeah, like the thing you did when you picked him.
Yeah.
Yes. This one. Hey, you want to know how to ruffle my feathers?
Not give you any information?
Yeah, which is exactly what this update does. So it says Power of the Storm, which is the hero power for Master Win. Adjusted the odds of hero power offerings. No text changes. Okay.
Now, we did get a dev update on Twitter after you made the show notes, which does have some specifics.
Was this because we were mean to Dom, or because Dom felt nice? And by we, I don't mean us actually being mean to Dom, but the community as a whole. Because Dom had a different... The last I checked, Dom had a different follow-up, which gave no additional information, which further ruffled my feathers, but I just sat on my hands and didn't type anything.
I would assume Dom was waiting for clearance from PR.
Delightful.
That's my assumption.
There has been thank you for adding this, by the way, because I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't what I read. I was mad. Dom has since tweeted, some of the more powerful hero powers in Master Win's pool will now appear less often. Reno, Akazamzarak, George, Omu, and Millhouse. The Reno only makes me sad for watching streamers get it. I got it like once, and it was like turn 2, and I was like, gee, thanks.
I have a story about that. Okay.
Oh?
So I was playing, I was iPad BGing at the wedding that I just came from. I talked about it. I had Reno, and on 6 gold, I had a red whelp, and I found my whelp smuggler. And so I'm just going to take this whelp smuggler. I'm just going to zap it right now. That is not what happened. I zapped my buddy Big Red. Had a very, very large red whelp on 5 gold. Did not take first place that game. But Big Red stayed in combat the whole time and got us to top 6.
Tag goals.
Yeah. The best hope there is to get a Wrathweaver, as I love to call him, Pink Grower, slap gold on it and hit demons for the rest of the game. But that doesn't always happen.
No.
It doesn't always happen. Anyways, so there you go. Thank God. Thank you, Dom, for the clarification. Let's get into minion updates, as there were many. First off, Defiant Shipwright, which you might remember as one of the worst minions we've had in a while, which is the tier 2, 3, 4 pirate that would, after you upgrade your tavern tier, do something I don't know because I never picked this minion on purpose. That's gone, and they're bringing back in South Sea Captain, which...
Yeah, this minion was bad.
Oh, Defiant Shipwright was so bad. I would just pick it. The only time I ever picked it is when I just needed the stats and everything else was worse.
Why isn't it a pirate? There were so many times. How do you buff the worst tribe by giving it a minion that isn't like demons? They got a tier 3 gentle Ginny, and pirates get the luxury of borrowing the Ysera hero power when they level.
A minion that does nothing else in combat, including getting buffed by the minions you want with this minion. Yeah, it's rough.
This was such a weird minion design from the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, more like Defiant Ship wrong, am I right?
Oh!
No.
I would continue dumping on this card, but I don't think there could be a more scathing criticism of it than replacing it with South Sea Captain.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the show notes, by the way. We definitely have a screen cap of an image that was supposed to be transparent, but isn't, and it's still better than Defiant Shipwright.
That was me adding. So, okay. Here's how you decipher these notes. In the Battlegrounds, there's only like 3 images that I actually put in here, and it's because I legitimately couldn't remember what these cards were or did. So that'll tell you what was effective and what was not. But speaking of what was effective, let's talk about Impatient Doomsayer, because it's not only moving up to Tavern Tier 4 like someone on the show said they should do. No happy dance from you, Joce? Nothing? Okay.
I thought it was an obvious change.
Humble today. But also Avenge going from 3 to 4. So going up a Tavern tier and going up in an Avenge, one more minion is going to need to die before you add a random demon to your hand.
Yeah, they kicked this in the nuts a little.
A little?
In the left one and then the right one.
Twice. Yes. My left nut is named Avenge and my right nut is named Tavern tier.
How did that come up in your life before? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. Yeah, Crypt just tweeted and called this the double tap nerf. This
which also works.
Yeah,
I'm now realizing that I was very lucky not to be on the same school bus as one Jocelyn.
That was a very natural slap and tap motion there.
Yeah, that looked a little too practiced.
Audio listeners, you're going to have to watch the video on youtube.com/shamemove.tv to see what we're talking
Apparently,
about.
I'm all about hand motions these last couple of weeks.
I've always been a hand talker. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Is this card dead?
Yes.
I think so. That 4 is going to make it. Well, I mean, because before you could basically like fill your hand with stuff, right? Like this time, I think you might get a couple, maybe. And the way you're have to do it and the point in the game where you're going to be doing it, I think is, you don't want this anymore.
I think this is going to be like a stopgap. I think you're going to see it like 2 or 3 turns in the mid game off people who tripled on tier 3 and were left with no better option. They're going to keep it around for a turn or 2. Maybe they were already going demons, which tend to summon things, which tend to die. Even all the better if they were doing a mid-game soul juggler, type of business. But I find it a really, really hard sell to see this in Bob's Tavern and want to buy it. Sorry, Tiki Rag's Tavern and want to buy it.
Well, yeah, you never force this anymore, right? Like, if it's there and you have no other options, like maybe, but yeah.
This is an Acolyte of Cthulhu buff again. Like, you kind of need Acolyte of Cthulhu for this card to work, because the Reborn not really goes a long way towards getting you the demon, but it seems like an enormous nerf to the card, like a huge, huge change, because and what you wanted to do, it doesn't do anymore.
Yeah, and chat room is also talking about how it's a nerf to AFK because obviously at tier 3 she had the ability to, potentially discover 2 of them, but I don't know. I want to see some of those old nerfed heroes come back to their original form. I don't think she would be nearly as broken as she was way back in the day.
Yeah, I agree. I think she should have gotten some love the same time that Daryl did, because like they're from the same.
Feels like it's been
they're
a
from the same
long
graduating
time.
class of Battlegrounds High
Yeah.
School.
Feels like it's been a long time since AFK has been really powerful, and I like her hero. I think she's kind of an interesting design. So
Yeah.
I mean, plus she's got awesome cosmetics. So duh.
I mean, who doesn't want to be a lazy beach bum? Not me. I was raising my hand as someone who wants to be a lazy beach bum, by the way.
I too would like to be lazy. Yes, please.
Yep.
Yes.
Sounds great. Yeah, I don't think I pay 3 gold for this on purpose.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a rush coming back from, I don't know, my dog throwing up water and needing to clean it up and panic clicking and going, oh crap, I grabbed the Doomsayer, which is going to be a really weird thing to say starting tomorrow.
Which is kind of good after forcing the comp for so long, right? Or well, not so long. It hasn't been all that long, but still.
I
Take a comp that people were forcing and then making it either a conscious decision that you have to make or only if it's the only option type thing. I think that's so much better. I'm sick of seeing.
I want you to go demons because you're going demons and not because you just want to want discovers off of triples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I want. Avenge is very cool though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm still a fan of the keyword for sure.
This
balance it, which they just did.
Yep.
They just balanced it.
Yep.
And now they're making another change to demons too. We finally have Smalligos. Smalganus.
There you go. Okay, I was like, what does this have to do with dragons?
There's no spell power on
Sorry,
this, and even if there was, it's Battlegrounds. Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Once you got your joke right, it was great.
It's great.
Landed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I'm immune to your damage. Immune.
It's okay, Hat. I know that your Tavern tier and your Revenge have both dropped. I get it. No worries. Kathra Natir is going down from Tavern Tier 4 to Tavern Tier 3, but also so is all of the stats. So it's going from a 7-5 down to a 5-4, and instead of your other demons having +3 attack, your other demons have +2 attack, keeping the hero is immune. This is tasty for demon players.
Such a big demons buff, like a pink boy buff.
I'm going right back to picking pink growers every single time I see them in the early game. I'm all about the pink growers.
Are you now? You look so proud of yourself every time you say that nickname.
Listen, everyone else gets to make up names, all right? Every once in a while I want one.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying you enjoying it. Secondhand.
I'm going nowhere else with that. I like this change. It's great. It's going to be interesting. Like, there's now more choice in going demons. Like, do you really want to dive your health for hope of having larger minions later? Or do you just not care? And if you really do, I mean, you can always turn it off and on because there's going to be more Catherine tiers in the mix because it's going down a Tavern tier. And so you can kind of stop the damage for a bit and then you can turn it back on if you want those damage synergies again. I think this is very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's 2 changes I want to talk about in tandem. Leapfrogger and Monstrous Macaw. Leapfrogger is going from Death Rattle, give a friendly beast, +2/+2, and this Death Rattle to give a friendly beast +1/+1, and this Death Rattle. And then Monstrous Macaw is going from after this attacks trigger a random friendly minion's Death Rattle to after this attacks trigger another friendly minion's Death Rattle, which I believe one Hat brought up last week as something that needs to happen because Monstrous Macaw hitting itself was toxic.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Hat definitely called this.
I'll point out, by the way, I didn't realize it until right now that there is a third beast nerf immediately next to this in the show notes. There's another one.
The Rattler?
Reanimating
Rattler.
Rattler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going from Tavern Tier 4, 6-2 to Tavern Tier 5, 7-3. What's important is the battle cry, give a friendly minion beast reborn, but going to be much more scarce at Tavern Tier 3 and come on much later.
Yes. The other
Tier
thing about
5. 5. You're gonna triple into this thing and be like, can I just concede the game right now?
Not everything was about Froggy Comp, though. Despite what Reddit and being a follower of @GarrettArt on Twitter might lead you to believe, not everything was about the Froggy Comp. Beasts were so good, basically any way you wanted to draft them. You want to do all of this BS with frogs, Goldrin Comp, it was still really freaking good. You tripped and fell over too many mama bears, you could still just make things work and make them work well. And reanimating Rattler,
that Crocolus guy too,
Paleskin
guy,
Paleskin?
yeah.
Which is also tier 5, right?
Yes.
Reanimating
Rattler was good in every beast comp, every single one. There is not a single composition, including look at this random assortment of beast bullshit that I stumbled across. Reanimating Rattler made it all better, all of it. This is like such a powerhouse card. There's always a beast you want to like resurrect itself. So this makes all the sense in the world to me. I look at Macaw, I look at Leapfrogger, and I go, okay, yeah, that's very contained. This is definitely targeting. Although Frog Comp, giving one of these two is the frog, and the other change is targeting a really, really overpowered interaction with Leapfrogger. So there you have it. But Reanimating Rattler, this is a ding to all beast comps.
Mm-hmm. And I think to go back up to Leapfrogger, one important thing to point out, so they are still tier 2, but the golden version now is equivalent to the previous normal version, right? Because now when you golden your Leapfrogger, you're going to get that +2/+2. It's like, that's what all the normal plain ones used to do. So it's, this was such a huge, it doesn't seem like too much because you're just taking that like +2/+2 and taking it down to a 1/1. But like, I think it's a bigger change than it looks like on the surface, like a bigger impact than it looks like on the surface. You're going to have to work a lot harder to get those big, huge, crazy numbers.
Yeah. And so often Macaw was the last damn minion on board because it was buffing itself, and that is now just impossible. Yeah.
And when it does buff itself, or when this buffs anything, it's just going to be so much smaller, right?
Yeah, essentially now you would need the double, like 2 Macaws and like a golden Leapfrogger.
Yeah.
To have a chance at the same ridiculous effects that were happening before, and that's much more specific.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, and they get to hit back in between, so it's much more likely the Macaw is going to die. Early game as beasts, you were going to have a much harder time. Old Leapfrogger, if you had 3 beasts, was better than Spawn of N'Zoth, and now it is only equal if your entire board is beasts, which it never was that early, like never. You can still get there with like your rat pack, your rat death rattle sometimes. It's going to be way, way, way harder to get this off the ground early. You cannot force it anymore. You can luck into some kind of death rattle-y beastie thing later in the game. You can still do that. And if no one's fighting over it, then it might be relevant. But the scaling that you saw before, it's just not going to feel even remotely the same. And Goldrin is probably the better way to go again.
I am really excited, though, to try to do like the double Monstrous Macaw Golden Leapfrogger with George. So I can Divine Shield my Monstrous Macaws. Like I'm side excited for another like niche comp being better with George than anyone else. And I think that's what we're on the precipice of with this.
He is a couple, by the way. Dog's most recent video is Gem Splitter Quillbores with George, and it was very entertaining to watch. The old bubble bore.
Gem Splitter is that's the Divine Shield. Yeah, gain a blend gem. I forgot.
Yeah.
I mean that makes a lot of sense. I've had a lot of my like thrifty 4th or 3rd place finishes have just been with a random assortment of Divine Shield minions and Gem Splitter. Like, and just being like, oh, well, I never found anything better, so I guess I'm kind of stuck here. But oh, hey, top 4, top 3.
Yeah, especially if you find a ground shaker, you can just kind of like go in and do a bunch of damage.
Yeah. All right, so moving away from the beast talk, Whelp Smuggler, a minion that hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but apparently got enough because it's getting nerfed. It used to be a 2/4 after a friendly dragon gains attack, give it +2 health. It's now going to be a 2/5, but it only gives friendly dragons +1 health after it gains attack. This was very, very good with the dragon I am blanking on the name of that permanently kept in combat buffs.
Terragosa.
Thank you. That makes me think of like a flavor of ice cream.
Yeah, I feel like this comp flew under the radar a little bit, maybe, or maybe it just had so many pieces that I didn't see it too often. But then when you got it to work, it was disgusting. Like, it was kind of gross.
Yeah. I maybe only had a handful of games, maybe like 3, where I really, really like just nailed like the Terragosa Whelp Smuggler. Also probably had some early game Evolving Chroma Wings that just went off. And it's when it works, it's punishing as all get out. And then God help you if you find an Adina. Things get real gnarly real quick, but yeah, not going to be as good as it was previously. I also liked Whelp Smuggler because it was really not contested. This was an easy golden. And now you're going to need to golden it to get the +2 health back, whereas before it was +4, and woohoo, that was nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. It was better than having a second Caligos before, and now it's not, so it's a good nerf.
Yep. Impulsive Trickster. This is that 2/2 demon at tier 1 with the death rattle of give this minion's maximum health to a friendly minion. I believe we were talking smack about this card last week. It's now going to read give this minion's maximum health to another friendly minion.
It's another Macaw nerf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is, this one's subtle to me, but it's fine. Master of Realities, which if you forgot what this card was, because I certainly did, this was the tier 6 elemental synergy minion. That wasn't an elemental itself. It was a 6/6 taunt after a friendly elemental gains stats, gain +1/+1. It's staying exactly the same. It is just going down to tier 5 from tier 6, which I think makes a lot more sense. This card never did jack for me.
No, this one never helped at all.
Okay. So I have a story. The first game I played with this card was the first game I played of New Battlegrounds, period. First game on the first day of 21.2. And I got Cthulhu. And I went Cthulhu Elementals. And I was like, this card is crazy. It was like a 50-50. It was enormous. Buffed all my elementals. It was really big. Won the lobby. And then the next time I went Elementals, I was like, oh, Master of Reality, that card's so good. I tripled into it. I took it. I was not Cthulhu. I was like, this card's awful.
Yes.
Yeah, because it says, with Lieutenant Gar, it was playing elementals, which that fed into the playstyle, right? Is you constantly wanted to be putting more elementals on the board, and he just got bigger and bigger and bigger. This guy's like, I'll get bigger when your other elementals get bigger, and you're like, okay, but what if they don't? And
but also only friendly elementals. It doesn't count elementals in the shop, which is something that happens with elementals.
Yeah. So this just never got big enough for me.
And isn't an elemental.
Are we supposed to like keep party elementals or molten rocks and just like to master our own reality? Like I don't know.
Perhaps. I don't know. I still think this card is not great.
Yeah.
Now you get to triple into either Reanimating Rattler or Master of Realities.
Ooh, so lucky.
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah.
Boy.
Oh, boy.
Ooh-wee. It's getting weird.
That sound is not ever going to happen again on this show. I will quit the show if you make that sound on there again.
The ooh-wee?
It makes me very uncomfortable in a primal way.
I was unaware of that.
I was too until it just happened.
What if I say What if I say, "Ooh, ridiculous hat! Look at me"? What if I just talk like that for the rest of the show?
I'm not a huge fan, but I won't quit the
okay?
show. If you did it the rest of the show, you're gonna burst a blood vessel or crap in your chair. I'm not sure which is gonna happen first.
Also, they aren't mutually exclusive. Both could happen. All right, before we leave, let's
maybe one then the other. I'll leave it up to listeners to decide the sequencing there.
Yeah. Let's kind of rapid fire the rest of these because they're just kind of buffs to things that haven't been doing all that good. Like Gold Grubber is getting double stats. Was a 2/2, it's going up to a 4/4. Gold Grubber has not been a part of the equation for a long time, in my opinion. Yep. Pirates in general haven't really been an equation in this meta. Salty Looter, speaking of pirates, is also getting a buff. It's getting 1 more health. It's going from a 4/4 to a 4/5. I still think this is only good if you find it pretty damn early.
Didn't this start as a 3/3, and this is the second time they've buffed it?
You need to find this pretty damn early for it to be properly good. Speaking of things that I'm not sure will ever be good, Prophet of the Boar is going from a 2/3 to a 3/3. This is the minion you try not to buy that reads once per turn after you play a Quillbore, gain a blood gem. It needs more stats for sure. A 2/3 on tier 2 is just sad. It's a weird card. Sometimes you just have to take it, and now it won't be so bad when you're in those scenarios.
I guess the whole point of all these buffs for tier 2s is like they want people to stop saying, "Guess I'll take a Harvest Golem." Like the entire goal is just to beat Harvest Golems in combat.
Which, I mean, that should be a goal. That shouldn't be how I'm feeling resigned in my tier 2 drafting. And then Roadbar. I almost said Roadbar.
Ironically, does not beat a Harvest Golem.
Yeah, 1/4 going to a 2/4. This is your old trusty Frenzy, gain a blood gem. Probably does, but unfortunately, it so desperately needs its own blood gems to be decent. So now it's a little bit better with that extra attack.
Yeah, these are just all reverting the Quillbore nerfs, right?
Oh,
now that we basically have new battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Or like everything else has been redesigned and everything. So they're like, hey, Quillbore fits now. Ta-da!
Maybe.
They're giving them a little bit more power. They're not all exact strict reversions, but I believe Roadbore is. I don't remember what Prophet of the Boar was. That might have been a reversion. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I think the next one too, Bristleback Brute, is a reversion too.
Yeah, it's going from a 3/3 to a 4/4.
That was +3/+3 for the first buff, right? For the blood gem that it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a +2/+2, but it's going from a 3/3 to a 4/4. That's the tier 3 Bristleback Brute. Dynamic Duo, going from a 3/4 to a 4/5, staying on tier 4, still gets +1/+1 after a blood gem is played on another Quillbore. Nothing else changed, just getting a little beefier. And then Charlga. Blood gems
this is
itself
going back
now.
to what it was. Yeah.
It was a 7/7. No more, not a 7/7 anymore.
It was a 7/7?
Yep.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Why did they ever think that was okay?
Charlga was so good.
Yeah.
Launch just so freaking good. This is still a lot better. Charlga not buffing himself is
especially where
bummer.
Charlga is a Quillbore as well. Like there was again that dynamic duo synergy. There's just all kinds of stuff. Like it buffing itself is just better.
Yeah, it always worked with it already worked with Agam Thorn Curse if you were going for that full menagerie build because you already had another Quillbore in Agam Thorn Curse.
Right.
So it's still kind of
no, Agamagan. Not Agam Thorn Curse, Agamagan. Charlie and the Big Pig was the duo. Agam Thorn Curse is the menagerie light fang blood gem thing.
Yeah, but sometimes you still made it pop off with Charlga. It's just that you didn't need to because of anyways.
Yeah. And also Peggy Brittlebone, they did some weird stuff. They clarified her wording, and I think that I guess they just specifically wanted to point out that it didn't go to the shop, but it is a 6/5 now of a 5/3.
What is?
Peggy.
Peggy?
Up. Up. Before Gold Grubber.
Yeah, they changed her wording, which isn't a functional change. They just clarified it, but they did. She says she hates leg day, but she definitely went to the gym because she got bigger.
Yeah. I have no other comments on Peggy. That's why I was skipping Peggy. But
I like Peggy.
I don't think I've...
She's good with blood gems.
I don't think I have once taken Peggy.
I don't know if I have either.
You gotta do Peggy, Flat Tusk Hogger.
Oh, well, that's fun. Discord just decided to hard crash.
Hi.
Yeah, Discord just closed itself
Oh.
with no warning.
I guess Discord didn't want to talk about Peggy either.
Yeah. Weird stuff. What I was going to say is, yeah, dude, I have I think I've maybe had Flat Tusk in like 3 or 4 games since the recent patch. Just not how I've been drafting.
You end up with Peggy, Flat Tusk, and Hogger. It is an APM disaster because you're just constantly taking pirates and throwing them, and you get blood gems, and then it's hard to click the right thing, and you drag them in all the wrong place, and you can't do it on mobile. Don't even try and do it on mobile. Don't even think about doing it on mobile. It is a very entertaining, if frenetic, experience.
There's a lot of that in Battlegrounds now.
Yes.
There
very
is.
much so.
There's a lot of
And
that.
and constructed. Hearthstone's much more APM-y than it used to be, isn't it?
It's a bit of an APM game. Yeah, I think they need to speed up those like card playing, just like the speed of your mouse picking up a card and dropping it. Like it's not snappy enough at this point. I don't know if you know this. Daryl's good again. I forgot what an absolute sweaty nightmare it is to try and play Daryl correctly.
Daryl is a sweaty nightmare.
Whew.
Just throwing hats everywhere.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Too much.
Hanging out with you far too much. Anyways, that brings us to the end of all the standard, wild, and battlegrounds changes that are hitting Hearthstone tomorrow. If you are listening to this the day we recorded it, if you're listening to it on the 21st, it's happening today, everybody. Happy patch day. Send your stories in. Tweet at us at TAC Podcast. Tell us what is definitely broken beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't care how small your sample size is. I want to hear about it. Tweet at us at TAC Podcast. Other than that, write in. You can be a part of the show, tacpodcast@gmail.com. It's getting meaty, so, we haven't had as much time to do Q&A segments. We've been tossing around an idea of doing a bonus show to burn through some patron Q&As, so maybe keep your ears out for that. That is a big old fat schedule willing, though. That's a file that under schedule willing. But speaking of our wonderful patrons, if you'd like to become one, you can check out patreon.com/TAC. That is where you can go and support this show. We are entirely independent, and you help keep the lights on, help us keep putting a lot of time into the show, and we really appreciate the support, everybody. We've got some perks for you over there. Go check it out. Also, thank you to our Patreon producers, Declan H., Jeffrey D., and Dustin C. Really appreciate the support. If you'd like to become a producer, you can do that over on the Patreon. Other than that, the whole back catalog of episodes are over at theangrychicken.com. Or if you want to watch on video, go to youtube.com/amove2. The 2 is numerical. But before we go, Joce, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays. You can also go and check out Extra Life. Again, if you guys want to go and support the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, we're going to be doing a lot of different streams over the next couple of months. So go to bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2021.
Definitely do that. It is a very good cause. Ridiculous Hat, you're also a good cause.
Aw.
Thank you.
You literally promoted someone else's podcast earlier in the show when we asked you to promote things. So, I mean, you're just an altruistic dude.
Well, Kyle's not here. Someone's got to do it. You got to get those Gengar tips.
If we start talking about the D&D Magic expansion, I think Kyle will burst through the door.
Magically appear.
Yep.
Well, we're not going to do that, I don't think. But if you're looking for more of my musings, if you want to call them that, you can find me at twitter.com/ridiculoushat. I also talk about Hearthstone and cheese and other stuff. And then I have 2 other podcasts, Coin Concede, Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. We're recording tomorrow and Thursday because, as you noticed from this episode of The Angry Chicken being an hour and 45 minutes on a single article about patch notes, there's a lot to cover this week. So, coinconcede.com, 2 episodes this week. Tune in, sign up. I think we're on Stitcher. I have no idea. And also, Vicious Syndicate, you can find us over at vicioussyndicate.com. It's more of a data-driven look at the standard metagame. Got a pretty cool episode coming up later this week. Not going to spoil it, but you should check it out. Garrett, where can people find you?
I really want to promote my new show, Nexus Gaming News. It is in its infancy, and it is really important to get new subs and new downloads when a new podcast launches. You know it. I know it. Help me game the system. Let's get one over on Big Apple. Come on. We can beat Apple at their own game. We can play their algorithm. We know how it works. Go subscribe to Nexus Gaming News, wherever it is you get your podcasts, and help us rise up those ranks, get some new listeners, introduce some new folks to the work that I'm doing, and maybe get educated on some other things happening outside of the world of Hearthstone by listening to Nexus Gaming News. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Ooh-ee!
Ooh.
I don't like this game.